Germany has risen from the ashes of World War II to dominate Europe. But to resurrect the Holy Roman Empire and become a real global superpower, Germany needs a strong leader, a new Charlemagne. Prove that Germany is now seeking a new Charlemagne that will provoke world war. Next, on The Key of David with Gerald Flurry.
Greetings, everyone. For several decades, we have been warning about the rise of Germany and the Holy Roman Empire, and they are going to suddenly catapult the world into another world war. So that's a very negative prophecy in that sense. Europe is seeking this new Charlemagne. That's what they want to lead. After many years, they've had to have weaker leadership. Now, Charlemagne was leader of the Holy Roman Empire beginning in 800 AD. He was a hero of Adolf Hitler, and that caused a lot of problems in our past. Germany, though, has had this weak leadership, and they really need strong leadership in Europe, especially when you look at what's happening in Russia and China and North Korea and many problems. But they are desperate, just really desperate for a Charlemagne. And they're going to have to realize that there is a great danger in that. And in many ways, the Holy Roman Empire is going to be hijacked. And that's not going to be good news. Let me just read you something that we discuss from time to time. On May 8, 1997, former German President Roman Herzog was presented with the International Charlemagne Prize for his efforts to unite Europe. In his acceptance speech, Dr. Herzog said, quote, "For 1,000 years, the destiny of our continent has revolved around the choice between a cohesive or fragmented Europe. Charlemagne, after whom our prize is named, made his own particular choice, the first unification of Europe. As such an hour, the truth must be told only by wading through a sea of blood, sweat, and tears did he reach his goal." He really told us a lot of truth about what Charlemagne did in just taking over all of Europe and doing it violently and killing so many thousands of people. So it goes on to say in this article that Germany has been Europe's greater perpetrator in instigating that bloodshed. See, so even today, German leaders talk about getting a Charlemagne. Many of them do. They want a new Charlemagne, a strong leader over Europe, which will really be the Holy Roman Empire. It's going to be pared down to 10 kings, according to Bible prophecy, and it will happen. The prophecies are always fulfilled. There will be those 10 nations and 10 kings. And we mentioned how this union will be horrifying. History bears this out. Conspiracy, betrayal, bloodshed, intolerance, execution, and so on. That is what is going to happen in that Holy Roman Empire. And they are not going to be friends of America or Britain or the Jewish state. They are not going to be our friends. And we need to keep that in mind. If you look at what they've done in the past, well, it's very frightening. So I want to show you today that Germany is seeking a new Charlemagne. A new Charlemagne. Margaret Thatcher said, Germany's national character is to dominate, she said. Well, that's been their history. Way before the first coming of Christ. Their name at that time was Assyria. While Germany lay in ruin and ashes after World War II, Herbert Armstrong had a crystal clear prophetic vision to see that Germany would rise again when nobody else thought they would. In fact, they had even said very strongly, the victors did, that they were going to see to it that they didn't rise again, in their military anyhow. But that didn't work out well at all. So Mr. Armstrong understood that, and he realized what another great power was going to come on the scene, the greatest Holy Roman Empire ever, the seventh one. And he, as everybody was saying, well, Germany will never rise again, he was proclaiming at that very time around the world that they were going to rise again and they would be stronger than ever. That's what he was saying. Now, Hitler was something to behold. Here's just one of our subheadings. This thundering demon was not there before. A limp little man changed into a force of overwhelming power. Now, that's the way it happened. Hitler was a little man, he was weak, but when he got up to speak, oh, what power he had. And where did he get it? Well, he got it from Satan the devil because he was possessed by Satan the devil. That's what your Bible says. And you'll see it's going to happen again. Very similar to that. Here's what I wrote about it, and this is a quote. European parliamentarian Otto von Habsburg said, quote, "The European community is living largely by the heritage of the Holy Roman Empire, though the great majority of the people who live by it don't know by what heritage they live." Now, that is amazing. Well, how is it? Well, because they went underground after World War II, and then even today, they don't want to talk about that very much publicly because they know there's been a prophecy way back even to World War II by Herbert W. Armstrong around the world, and he had a powerful message all over the world. And he was telling people what was going to happen to Germany and how they were going to become the leader of that Holy Roman Empire. And they went underground because, and still they didn't want people to see what they were doing, and yet it's prophesied that they would do that, and it's really a shame that the world won't pay attention to what Bible prophecy says. This is not something we can take lightly. Why don't they discuss the Holy Roman Empire today? Well, Herbert W. Armstrong has a lot of prophecy out there even today. He's no longer living, but he left a lot of literature there about the rise of the Holy Roman Empire, the last one that Jesus Christ was going to destroy himself at the second coming. Now, that takes you back a long time, and he was talking about that, and that's exactly what happened. Notice, though, it says about the great majority don't know that they are now living in that heritage of the Holy Roman Empire. They don't know what they're living by. He also says, we possess a European symbol which belongs to all nations of Europe equally. This is the crown on the Holy Roman Empire, which embodies the tradition of Charlemagne. How about that? They have all these traditions and all of these crown, and the Holy Roman Empire for 400 years talked about a crown in a museum in Vienna, Austria. It's there today, and it takes you back to the tradition of Charlemagne. And Hitler loved that. That was his hero, and he was acting as much like him as he possibly could. Now, a guy like Baron Gutenberg, that we talked about so much, he certainly is a brilliant man there and could very well rise to power himself. And we have talked about that quite a lot over the years. This crown of Charlemagne, that's what Hitler wanted most of all, and he took it to Germany. And all of those crown jewels. This always has been somewhat of a distraction in Europe. But just think about the 7 heads of the Holy Roman Empire, and they have all, every one of them, has been negative and destructive and killed a lot of people, millions of them, in the Middle Ages. That's happened, and you can see it and prove it by your own history books. You don't have to take my word for it. So we have to be careful because it's going to rise suddenly. And we don't want that to catch us unaware. Here's what Hitler said. He insisted that his early years in Vienna were absolutely crucial to his career because at that time, he said, I have formed an image of the world and a view of life which became the foundation for my action. I have had to change nothing. He just understood about the crown jewels that Charlemagne had, and he wanted to be just like that, only stronger. He wanted to be as strong as he could be. Albert Speer, who knew Hitler best during World War II, was convinced that the Fuhrer's intellectual development stopped with the world as he had known it in Vienna in 1910. Now that's an amazing thing. Early on, it was a teenager even. He was fascinated by these crown jewels, mesmerized by them. Something was happening to this man, and he didn't even know really what it was at all. He was very deceived about that. We hear so much about the Jews being God's chosen people. There's more to it than that. But anyhow, he thought God had changed the Germans to be the chosen Jews, that they were the chosen people of God. That's what he thought. Of course, that comes from Satan, the devil. But nevertheless, a lot of things were happening. Hitler had brought from Vienna, after 140 years, the insignia of the First Reich. He became the Third Reich, but this was the First Reich. The imperial crown, the orb of empire, the scepter, and the imperial sword. At the presence of their symbols of imperialism, he solemnly vowed that they would remain in Nuremberg forever. They'd remain in Nuremberg forever. That's from a historian by the name of Toland. The crown jewels were so inspiring. Mr. Habsburg told you all about this and said that this was all about surrounding Charlemagne. That was the man they really looked to, and they talk about it today in Europe. They talk about it. The leaders talk about it. But anyhow, when he'd take those crown jewels back to Nuremberg, he would give speeches with power like you've never seen a man give before. Probably. It was something to behold. Hitler said, neither a military nor a civilian personality could replace me. I am convinced of the strength of my brain and resolution. The fate of the Reich is dependent entirely upon me. That's quite a statement. A man is really more limited than that, but he had more power than many men, most all men, and you could say more than all of them individually. He really was fascinated by what happened there in Vienna. And even Winston Churchill thought he really got all of his information later in Munich, but that's not true. He got everything that he wanted right there in Vienna with those crown jewels, and he said, that was it. He didn't have to know anything else. Quite a statement, quite an understanding. Notice what it says in Habakkuk 1 and verse 6. Verse 6 of Habakkuk 1, "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans," that's the Holy Roman Empire. We prove that in our booklet on Habakkuk. "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses are also swifter than the leopards." All that power. Amazing. And then on down to verse 11 it says, "Then shall his mind," the leader of this Holy Roman Empire, this last Holy Roman Empire, Christ is about to destroy it totally and end it all. But notice what it says. "Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing that his power unto his God." He thought it was the great God, but it was the God of this world. And his mind changed because of that satanic spirit. And look at the power that he had. Baron Karl Theodor Gutenberg, we have him on the scene, and he is a very strong, brilliant man in many ways. And he followed Edmund Stoiber in the turn of protege of Franz Joseph Strauss, which was really the strong man who got all of this started in many ways. Now just look at verse 23, and here is this new Charlemagne that's coming. Verse 23, "And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance." He's powerful. And where is he getting that power? Well, God tells you here, "A king of fierce countenance and understanding. Dark sentences shall stand up." He's going to stand up. It's right there in Bible prophecy. This is the new Charlemagne, an all-powerful one that is going to shock the world again and again and again, just as that Holy Roman Empire has done in the past. Notice verse 24, "And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power." What other power did he have then? Well, the power of Satan the devil, of a man who is possessed by him. That's what it's about. "He shall destroy mightily, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people," God's own lukewarm people in this end time. God is going to bring them into the great tribulation caused by the Holy Roman Empire. And look at the power he has. Satanic power that this world really knows nothing about, and they should know because they've been hearing about it for over 75 years. But notice verse 25, "And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many." By peace shall destroy many. He's a deceitful liar, and with all power, a great military. Germany today is becoming very powerful, and they're about to have those 10 kings. But notice, "He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand." He's going to meet Jesus Christ himself and be smashed and crushed forever. And Jesus Christ is going to bring us peace and joy. It says in Revelation 12 and verse 12 that Satan knows his time is short. He knows it. Do we know time is short? This is coming. These men are going to meet Jesus Christ himself. And he's going to destroy them and bring peace and happiness and joy to this earth that we all should have had a long time ago. But we've rebelled against God. We have rebelled. They have a party now in Germany. I think they have about 17% of the vote. The AfD party, which is really the neo-Nazis or new Nazis, and Elon Musk is encouraging them to keep growing. But he doesn't understand Bible prophecy, or I don't think he would be making such a statement. That's something we need to think about. In Revelation 17, verses 12 and 13, it says, "And the 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." Everybody gives the beast the power, that Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire of Mussolini and Hitler is prophesied to rise once more before Jesus Christ. That's in verse 14. And we have an article after Trump's victory, "Watch Germany." You can write for that. If you think about the lady that rules Italy now is directly tied to Mussolini, who was allied with Hitler in World War II. What is that? What is that all about? It's building up again, just as God said it would, and just as Herbert W. Armstrong said it was, and just as we've been saying 35 years, it's been that way as well. We have proclaimed it to the world. It's going to be a terrible, terrible time, and they are going to cause a lot of suffering. Notice what Elisha Wiesel says about his father. First he says, the tiny nation of Israel is the villain for refusing to die. January 27, 2025 in USA Today. His father, Elie Wiesel, said, "The issue here is not politics." He told Reagan on national TV, Ronald Reagan, "This is good and evil. This is not about politics. We must never confuse them, for I have seen the German military at work, and I have seen their victims." He was in a concentration camp. He's seen it all. We want to make sure we don't let that happen to us. Until next week, this is Gerald Flurry. Goodbye, friends.
All our literature is available free of charge at no cost or obligation to you. Request "A Strong German Leader is Imminent: The Holy Roman Empire in Prophecy," and "As You Watch Gaza, Watch Germany." Order now. The preceding program was a paid presentation of the Key of David, brought to you by the Philadelphia Church of God.